my dad because, these things, experience and living these kind of things, his dream when he was playing tennis. And I'm just really proud and I'm really happy to see him.
What is Carlos Alcaraz's father really doing to his son's career? Hold that question, because the answer is uglier than the headline. Rewind to the end of 2025, best season of Carlos's life. And the man who built him, coach Juan Carlos Ferrero, is suddenly gone, fired. 6 Grand Slam titles together, over. The Spanish press went hunting for the reason, and it wasn't a rival, an injury, or a slump. It was the name stitched on the back of Carlos's own shirt, his father. Clay and RG Media reported it cold. Sources describing bitter disagreements between Ferrero and Alcaraz's dad over a single question: who actually controls this career? Another outlet reached for the word that trails every tennis parent like a shadow: interfering. Now here's what the hot takes skip. Weeks after that breakup, this same kid walked into Melbourne and made history, the youngest man ever to complete the career Grand Slam. So if dad is wrecking the career, it's the strangest wreck tennis has ever filmed. Which leaves 2 stories. 1, a father who lost the plot and shoved out the only coach who turned his boy into a champion. 2, a family that saw the danger before the rest of us. The same family Rafael Nadal told us again and again never to bet against. One of them is true. We're about to find out which. Stay with me. What Carlos Alcaraz's father is really doing to his son's career, and why nobody inside that camp will say it out loud. Forget the warm goodbye posts. Here's the detail that breaks that whole story in half. Carlos Alcaraz didn't fire Juan Carlos Ferrero. That's not a theory. That's Ferrero, to Marca, in the Christmas interview that lit up Spanish tennis. He said it flat out. The decision wasn't Carlos's. It came from Carlos's environment, his words. And in Spain, nobody had to ask which corner of that environment he meant. Now rewind 6 days, just 6. On December 11th, Ferrero was named the ATP's Coach of the Year for 2025, top of the profession. 6 days later, gone. December 17th. Alcaraz ends a partnership that began when he was 15. 7 years, 6 Grand Slams. The man he used to call his second father, done. So what changed in those 6 days? Nothing. The crack was years old. We just hadn't been shown it. Watch how careful Ferrero is. He says it came down to principles and contract terms, conditions he couldn't accept. Contractual matters have to be reviewed. Measured, diplomatic, the voice of a man holding something heavy, choosing not to drop it. So let's pick it up for him. While Ferrero ran his Equalite Academy in Villena, the place that turned a kid from Murcia into a champion, someone else had broken ground. Alcaraz's father, Carlos Sr., has been promoting his own venture, the Carlos Alcaraz Tennis Academy, in the family's hometown of El Palmar, about 60 miles from the base where his son was made. 60 miles, 2 academies, 1 son, and this, the rival academy, the pullback home, the contract Ferrero wouldn't sign. This is what people mean when they ask what Alcaraz's father is really doing to his son's career. But understand who this man actually is. Carlos Sr. is no tennis tourist. He was a professional himself, ranked inside the world's top 1,000 in 1990, before becoming the tennis director at the family club in Murcia, the same club Carlos's grandfather carved out of an old hunting ground decades earlier. Tennis isn't this family's hobby, it's the family business, 3 generations deep. Which is what makes the next part strange, because for years, the one place Carlos Sr. refused to stand was his son's practice court. Carlos said it himself. His father never wanted to blur the line between dad and coach, so he deliberately kept his distance, and Carlos credited that restraint for a huge part of his rise. The man now accused of seizing control spent a decade choosing not to. So either something changed in him, or the word interfering is carrying more weight than the facts allow. Hold on to that, it matters later, because the friction itself isn't new. Clay traced a heated argument between Ferrero and Alcaraz's father all the way back to February 2023, over Ferrero skipping certain tour dates, before most of those 6 slams were even won. The tension was in the room the entire time they were lifting trophies. And the replacement, already inside the building. Samuel Lopez, co-founder of that same Equalite Academy, had joined Carlos's team back in December 2024, a full year before the split. By December 2025, he's the head coach. The successor was in place long before the goodbye. Read that how you like. There's more, and it's the part that should sting. Ferrero admitted the whole thing might have been saved if the two sides had simply sat down and talked, but they never did. 7 years, 6 majors, and it ended not in a screaming match, but in a silence. He says he's not even closing the door on a reunion someday. Which tells you this was never really Carlos versus his coach. It was a decision made over both their heads. So when one outlet reached for the word interfering, it stuck for a reason. But here's where the lazy version of this video lies to you. We won't. Because Ferrero refused to play the wounded party. He denied any ultimatum. He called it logical that Carlos wants his own academy, wants to be home more. I never saw this as a rivalry. And even hurt, he insisted, Carlos can become the best in history. That's not a man describing sabotage. That's a man describing a kid growing up and a family pulling him home. And if you want proof these fault lines were visible long ago, rewind to Carlos's Netflix documentary, My Way. On camera, Carlos took a 3-day trip to Ibiza before the grass season, and his own team didn't hide how they felt. Ferrero was rubbed the wrong way. His physio and his agent called the move selfish, a mistake. His own corner questioning his commitment for the entire world to stream. The clash between Carlos's instincts and the people managing him wasn't born in December 2025. It was already on screen. And guess who pushed back? Nadal told L'Equipe the documentary got Carlos completely wrong, that it painted a partier who wasn't serious, when the real Carlos is a grinder. While Carlos's own team aired its doubts, Nadal defended him. Remember that. It's about to matter. Then comes the fact that blows the ruined career angle apart. Weeks after the split, Alcaraz walked into Melbourne and finished it. At 22, the youngest man ever to complete the career Grand Slam. He'd already locked 2025 as world number 1, a career best 8 titles, 71 wins. Look at that scoreboard, a father steering his son toward home, toward his own academy, toward more control. If that's destroying a career, someone forgot to tell the scoreboard. Now the twist that should make the Alcaraz camp sweat. The coach they let go, the architect of 6 slams, has openly said he'd be open to working with Jannik Sinner one day. Picture that chessboard for a second, the one man who knows Carlos's game from the inside, the blueprint for how it cracks, potentially walking to the other side of the net, to the rival who keeps meeting Carlos in finals. If Dad's gamble was about control, it may have just handed Sinner the master key. That's the trap. 2 truths stacked right on top of each other, both real. The push to end it came from Carlos's camp, not Carlos, and that same Carlos is playing the best tennis of his life. Pick one frame, you get a villain. Pick the other, a mastermind. The evidence won't let you choose, it cuts both ways. Which brings us, finally, back to Rafael Nadal. Long before the whispers, Nadal kept saying one thing about this family. That Carlos had a great family behind him. That the cameras kept getting the kid wrong. Nadal vouched, over and over, for the exact people the rest of the sport is now side-eyeing. So who read it right? The whispers or Rafa? Maybe both. Maybe a father can interfere and still be right. Maybe pulling your son out of the machine that built him is reckless and protective in the same breath. Maybe the most dangerous figure in a champion's life was never the rival across the net. It's the one who loves him enough to bet the whole career on being right. Strip the noise away and the real story is bigger than any takedown headline. Nobody had to expose Carlos Alcaraz's father. He did this in plain sight. He looked at the most valuable career in tennis, a son holding the career Grand Slam at 22, and decided he could steer it better from home. He backed the rival academy. His camp won the standoff with the coach who made the kid. And when the dust cleared, the father was the one still standing. That's not a scandal, it's rarer than that. A father going all in with his own son's legacy as the chip. And here's the part the rage channels won't tell you. Right now, it's working. 8 titles, world number 1, the career slam, the bet is paying. For now. Because a career is a long bet and the bill always comes late. The real questions about a father this hands-on don't get settled in a season. They get settled in 5. So I don't want your side, I want your call. By this time next year, does Carlos add to that slam count, or does the first crack show? Drop it below. A number, a date, a gut read. Be specific and be on record. Then subscribe, because we're the channel that comes back and checks. No hype, no quiet edits. When the answer lands, our receipts go right next to yours. Nadal told us never to bet against this family. Carlos's father just bet everything on being right. We find out together.